ready to make some strategic moves in the stock market this month? It's time to dive into the trades you need to consider right now. Today, we're talking about 3 trades to make in June. We're discussing GitLab, Gevo, and Tesla. Chris and Thomas, I'm so excited to get more background from you both on these trades. Thomas, let's start with GitLab. What can you tell us about this company that's important to note?
Right. So I'm looking at GitLab as kind of a trade and an investment. It's definitely got long-term potential and certainly an upswing potential for the summer. It is, according to their website, the most comprehensive DevSecOps platform on the market. What that means is it's a platform for developers to build apps and software. It's security, because for business, they want to keep that stuff very secure. It has AI tools for them to use. Plus, it's going to be used to make all the apps that AI needs to move forward with. So I think this is really a double tailwind here.
So you had mentioned the investment and trade aspect. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Right. Well, the business was developing well before AI craze took over, but now that the AI craze is here, it's been supercharged. Their results weren't quite as mind-blowing as NVIDIA's were, but they were pretty good. The guidance was good, and I see a similar trade setup forming for this stock later in the year.
Interesting for sure. So can you tell me a little bit more about how does the focus on AI services really play into the potential for GitLab?
Well, AI services are driven by apps. You have to have the apps for AI to function or to be able to harness the power of AI. Apps are going to be, and the services are going to be, the largest and the fastest growing segment of the market. So this is really just the very opening plays in the first inning for this company.
And are you anticipating any significant developments or improvements from the company this year?
I think GitLab is going to increase its guidance again and again. Just look to Apple. The other day, they released their new virtual reality headset. And the big headline isn't that the headset is so awesome. It's that Apple doesn't have any apps to make it work. So what do you think is going to happen now? People are going to go flocking to platforms like GitLab to build apps for Apple's new VR headset. That's just, I mean, this story is unfolding now. It's only going to get better, I think.
Okay, Chris, let's talk about Gevo now. I see it's one of the most heavily searched stocks on MarketBeat, so clearly people are interested. What is the idea with this one?
So this is a clean energy play. Gevo is a small cap company. It's focused on transforming renewable energy sources into hydrocarbons that can then be turned into renewable fuels, such as renewable natural gas and sustainable aviation fuel.
So Chris, I did take a look at this company and I see it's not generating much revenue. So this is a trade, right?
Yeah, I think it's the company has proof of concept right now, and they don't have much more than that. And they're going to have to get much more than that, specifically regarding their net zero initiatives, for it to be considered, in my mind, for it to be considered a serious long-term investment. But as a trade, there's some interesting things going on. It's up about 29% in the last month. But when I say the last month, that really is only since about May 26th. And that's when all the gains have been, and the stock hasn't really pulled back yet. I just noticed right before we started taping this morning that it was up again this morning. So there's an opportunity here for investors.
So Chris, stocks clearly don't move themselves. Something's going on here. So what are the factors that are contributing to that upward movement?
I think in the short term, since right around May 26th, there was an announcement that the board of directors authorized a $25 million share buyback program. Now, given the company's financials, that's a lot of hopium to be investing in. But that is what caused the initial surge in the stock. The stock also has a heavy amount of short interest, and that's always going to be fuel for a trade. Now, here's something I would just point out to our viewers. I was checking to see what the institutional investment looked like on the stock, and it's not very high. It's only in the 40 percentile, but there's been one major buyer in the last quarter, and that was JP Morgan Chase. So if you're kind of looking at a reason to look at this as a trade over the summer, that might be something to keep your eye on.
All right. And I found a trade actually today as well that I want to talk about. For me, it's Tesla. Tesla is one of those picks I think you could easily trade, or it could be a long-term investment for some. I mean, I'm looking at the daily price swings. It really makes it easy to trade if you don't get too greedy. That's an important thing to note. But the reason is easy here. Elon Musk is polarizing, as we know, so that makes Tesla volatile day to day. He talks, the stock moves. He doesn't talk, the stock still moves. So pick an entry point and just wait, like we like to say. So it's pretty easy to scalp 5 to 7% over a few days just based on a news cycle. So from an investment standpoint, Tesla looks high at the moment, 224, which, by the way, I've watched that move up from the 180s recently. And that's where the trades would come in. But $300 a share, I think that's likely to be seen in the next few months. But with a PE ratio at 65 or so, it's still not cheap. Never is. But investors think it might be the worth the risk. And honestly, I'm thinking the same. What do you have to say about that, Thomas?
Right. I think Tesla is solid. It certainly is the leader in EV. We were talking with Don earlier, and you can't go outside and not see a Tesla anymore. It's like it's every third or fourth car on the highway. But I think what's driving Tesla right now is that they've been lifting prices. They cut prices at the end of last year, first part of the year, that cut into profitability. Stock price suffered for it. They're firming their prices back up, and that's going to improve profitability. And I think that's lifting the stock into the summer.
Chris, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Thomas, if I'm looking at Tesla, if I'm looking at it as a long-term investment, but I've also commented before on this channel that this is a time when even if you're a long-term investor, you have to be thinking like a trader. How concerned do I have to be about the short interest, on the stock? Because Tesla's always been one of the most heavily shorted stocks in the market. I constantly see posts from people who are shorting the stock. So, I mean, with the stock looking like it's right for profit taking, what do traders need to be looking at this? And then how do investors need to be looking at this?
Right, the short interest. I mean, I agree that it's a popular stock to short, and it's actively shorted. But I was just checking a minute ago, and the short interest is only about 3.5%. That's not really very high. So I think from that perspective, with what Lacey was saying, that contributes to the volatility, and it can help make the moves be a little bit bigger. If the stock is moving down, people might short it a little bit more, give it some more momentum. When it's moving up, you get a little bit of that short covering, impact. So I think that that'll just kind of, play into the volatility. Longer term, I think you want to buy this stock on dips and build positions. And I think the 180 level looks pretty good right now. I'm not going to say that it's going to pull back to 180, but that's been a pretty solid kind of foundational point for the market. If we got a dip below 180, I think I'd be a buyer of Tesla.
All right, well, there you have it. We want to know if you're going to be trading any of these stocks we talked about today, or if there's others that you're looking at. But if this video was helpful to you as a trader or an investor, let us know. The way you can do that is by giving this video a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. Thanks, guys. We'll see you back here soon.